Hey everybody, this time we're going to draw Lapis Lazuli, another very special character from Steven Universe. Alright then, let's get right to it. Alright, we're starting with the head, as very often, and we draw an oval shape, like that, at first just as a guide, and I'm also adding the center lines for the orientation, like so. And I give the face its form, because it's not exactly an oval shape, but at first we have a curve here, then another curve for the cheek, and then just simply go pretty much straight until the chin. Then we have this little edge here, alright? And now we are continuing with the nose. We have a kind of a small nose, but very pointy. At the top it curves slightly up, like so. And the eyes are oval shaped, like so. And again, from this kind of perspective, you simply use the nose where the nose ends and draw the eye from there. And now you leave a gap in between there that is big enough, and draw the other eye. Just this simple oval shape, like so. Alright, and now I also add the pupils, which are just some simple small oval shapes, like so. And she's looking upwards, and the position, the pose that I plan on drawing her in is like flying upwards, and she's looking towards the sky, like this. And the mouth, as often very unimpressed. This is pretty much her personality. She barely smiles. And here we have the hair. First we have these three curves, like so, and then another curve from the back, and goes around until we get to the middle part up here, like so. Then we draw this part here at the side of the face, going down like this. Then we have these spikes at the end, here another curve, and now for the back part of her hair we draw first this curve here, and then we have this pointy end spiking up a little bit and split like that, and then curving down to this part here. Alright, like so. I have to mention that the hair looks very different from scene to scene. She has a very inconsistent hairstyle actually, especially later in the series. Her hairstyle is kind of wild. But yeah, and also we want to let some hair show here at the back. Now for the body, we at first of course draw the neck, very slender kind of neck, and the chest, we draw it here. The width is maybe slightly smaller than the width of this oval that we just used, like so. The body shape is very similar to Pearl actually. So something like this, and then we have another part right here. We separate it, and this part is going to be free. And we have this kind of free part also over here, and this X shape is formed. So like this. Alright, and now we move over to the skirt, and there you can be very free with it. It's a skirt after all, and depending on how it waves, it can be drawn in all sorts of ways, like so. Just make sure that the length of the skirt is just as long, so that you still see most of the lower leg down here, We're going to draw them. Here we have one stretching out, and as I said, we are going to draw her kind of flying, or at least floating, and therefore she's not standing on any ground, and the feet are just hanging there, and therefore it's also very simple. We just almost just continue here this line, and then here we have this corner and the flat end. We add some small little lines to indicate the toes, so maybe I actually make it slightly longer, like so. Excuse me for that. And here we add the other foot at a different angle, like so, but drawn pretty much in the same way. Alright, just indicate the toes here too. Okay, and this is a very simple way of how to draw the feet. Her feet are the most human-like. Her overall anatomy is most human-like actually, but still in a very simplified way. Alright, yeah, and also we should not forget this part here, and we don't have this line actually, so we can erase it. And this part is kind of forming like a diamond shape or something like that, as you can see. Now the arms are again very simple. We just have these long and thin kind of tubular shapes, like so. One for the upper arm, one for the lower arm. Right, and now the hands, very delicate hands, like so. And I'm going to draw them also in a very simplistic way. I just draw this curve here and then connect it like this. And here we have the thumb coming out like this. And if you want to learn more in a general way how to draw hands, then I highly recommend that you click on the information card that is showing up in the upper right corner. So yeah, whenever you see that popping up, there is a reason for that, that I'm putting them there. So yeah, there we go, we have this hand, and we are drawing the other arm too, of course. Like this, slightly different angle, but the hand is drawn in a very similar way because I'm kind of lazy. So, like this. Here we have the thumb, and one finger is maybe splitting up a little bit actually to change it slightly. This. Alright. Okay, I will worry about the details later. But this is the simplified way of how to sketch the hands. One way at least in this for this particular pose. Okay, and we also don't want to forget this part here, the kind of bow at her back with the bands waving in the wind, like so. Yes. Alright, and we also draw this curve here. And now since she is flying, we of course have to add her wings, her water wings. And there is no specific way how to draw them, so I cannot really explain that to you. You just randomly draw these curves here, and if they're looking good, pretty much, then it's basically alright. Then just one thing is, you can first draw it upwards like this in this kind of curve, and then go down like so. This would be the basic direction, but that's pretty much it, and I cannot really tell you much else about how to draw that. So here on the other side too, just very randomly. Yeah, like so. Here, some blobs flying here and there, but don't overdo it with these water drops that are flying around, otherwise it gets too much. Just as I said, as long as it looks good, you can add as many blobs and as many lines as you want. So now I will move over to the time-lapse to finish this drawing, do the outlining and coloring and stuff, and also do another drawing in order to show you that you can use these techniques in order to draw hair in whatever way you want to. In a Q&A session, Rebecca Sugar was talking about comics and how they are an efficient way for practicing drawing and learning new drawing skills, and she also mentioned a few examples. One of them would be of her brother, Steve Sugar, who invented a comic about birds that is called Nightmare in Birdland, and he drew that comic very quickly in just one weekend. And the reason why he drew it was because before that he had no idea how to draw birds, and so he was thinking to himself, well, I then create a comic story in order to learn this skill and in order to learn how to draw these animals. And so he did, and he learned a lot, and all of a sudden he gained this new skill. And Rebecca did the same thing and created a comic story in order to learn how to draw women, because before that she mentioned that she never really drew women in comics, and so she wanted to learn that, and so she invented this new story. And the comic was, as far as I know, never finished. It is mostly just a sketch, but she was showing the sketches in this Q&A video. The woman in this comic, who is the main character, was pretty much the proto-Lapis, as Rebecca was explaining it. The story has a lot to do with emotional manipulation, which is a big part of Lapis's character. And you can see in a lot of parts of these sketches that she drew them in a very violent and wild way. And during that time she was going through a very bad breakup. And so it's interesting how all of these factors came into play and in the end created this character Lapis Lazuli. I also would like to create some short comic stories in order to simply practice a specific skill, for example how to draw a particular animal or something like that, and I can also pour my heart into these stories. Alright, and I'm done, and I drew the second version in a kind of annoyed way, almost pissed actually. And you can see that the hair is much wilder. This is another way how she was drawn a little bit later in the cartoon series. Okay, so now let's answer a question again. And I got another question from Unseen Ivy, who is asking, do your cats often interfere with your drawing? Yes, very often, in all sorts of ways. Maybe Hoko is whining around and bothers me and doesn't really show me what she wants because she already ate and already played with her, but she's a mystery sometimes to me. And she, most of the time when she's about to sneeze and lying right next to me or on me or under the blanket under me or something like that, and it's like a emergency state and I have to get her out as soon as possible. And she also gets crazy very often, and maybe she is jumping around or playing with something that she's not supposed to, and this also happens a lot while I'm doing my recordings, and it's a lot of work. Well, in the end it still is worth it after all. But yeah, they often annoy me. So you can see the questions don't have to be primarily about drawing, but in this case they were about my cats, and they can be pretty much about anything as long as they're not too controversial or some sort of troll questions. I'm not dealing with that. And so yeah, if you have a question for me or some sort of constructive feedback, then just let me know down below in the comment section. And if you want to support me and my show, then you can check out my Patreon page, which I would highly appreciate. Alright then, have a drawing.